Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Brown from Montgomery College Television, and I'll be your moderator for today's town hall. We're coming to you from room 151 in the Bioscience Education Center on the Germantown campus, and we're looking forward to hearing from many of you today. As always, if you are nearby and you're watching online, why don't you come on over and join us? We'd love to have you here in the room with us. We encourage everyone to ask questions, to offer opinions, and introduce new topics of discussion. Now, if you are watching online or on MCTV, you can email your question at any time to townhall@montgomerycollege.edu. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you can comment your question, and of course, you can tweet your question to @MontgomeryCall using the hashtag AskDrCain. And you can all do me a favor by keeping your questions brief so that we can get to as many of you as possible today. One final note before I turn things over to Dr. Cain. Regardless of whether you're here in the room with us or you're watching online, please make sure you identify yourself before you ask your question. And now it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to Dr. Cain.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. It's great to be here today. Great to see all of you. These town hall meetings are great. It's a great thing for us to do, an opportunity to get together, hear what are big issues on everybody's minds, have a chance to hear directly from me, and for me to have a chance to hear directly from you. I enjoy it very much. I learn a lot in these sessions, and so I look forward to a great conversation here. I have a few things to share with you before we get started in the Q&A. And so I'd like to start by, first of all, acknowledging that we're on the Germantown campus, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. Happy anniversary, Germantown. Yeah. Yeah, the campus had a wonderful celebration a few weeks ago, and I think there's some celebratory activities that are going on throughout the semester. So it's hard to believe the Germantown campus is 40 years old. Does not look a day over 30. It's doing great. I also want to acknowledge that all of our veterans who are here maybe in the audience today or watching, with Veterans Day coming up on the weekend, I want to thank everybody each and every veteran for their service to our country. Well, as always, there's a lot happening at the college, and I want to touch on a few of those highlights. First, you may know that our student athletics have had some extraordinary seasons so far. How about that volleyball team? Right? You cannot get better than having a perfect record, 26-0, and they actually went a very long time and a number of matches with undefeated games. So they would go 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, just amazing. They were terrific. They were the 2018 Maryland Junior College Athletic Conference champions, the first in MC's volleyball history. What a great accomplishment. So last week they competed in the National Junior College Athletics Association Division II Region 20 tournament at the College of Southern Maryland. They did go down to the Northern Virginia Community College, but they had a great year and we're so proud of them. Two other athletic teams performed some incredible feats as well. After moving into Division I this year, both the women's and the men's soccer teams finished their seasons with 2018 Maryland Junior College Athletic Conference Championship titles as well. We're proud of these student athletes too, and their determination to demonstrate both of their excellence in sport as well as in their education. Men's and women's basketball starts this weekend. They've actually been playing some preseason games already, but they tip off with a tournament this weekend, and I wish them great success as their seasons get underway. There's also a lot happening in the world of academics, as always, but I want to point out two things in particular. First, the last week in October, and this is really important to me personally, was National Chemistry Week. For those who don't know, I used to teach chemistry, still love it. And Mole Day was celebrated with a periodic table made of cupcakes at the college. So Mole Day is October 23rd. It's very important to us chemists. I could go on for the whole hour if you want to talk about that one. But if you're not familiar with it, it commemorates a basic measuring unit in chemistry, which is called Avogadro's number. And that cupcake display was absolutely amazing, because whoever did that, it was a labor of love. That must have taken hours and hours to put together. Well, speaking of chemistry and biology, physics, engineering, computer science, the college currently has 25 interns working at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The program has funded approximately 120 STEM internships for MC students since the start of the grant in 2014. An additional 5 years of funding worth over $2 million was approved by NIST in April as part of their professional research experience program. That's great news. Congratulations to all the faculty and staff who worked on that valuable program. And we've been talking a lot about enrollment strategies, so I want to share some good news on a few fronts there. More than 800 students expressed interest in enrolling in middle college for classes that start in the fall of 2019. That's fall ahead of now, a year ahead. That's great, great news. The addition of general studies this year at Northwood High School grew the number of students considerably. Additionally, the successful graduation of 8 students in May, all of whom were admitted to the University of Maryland, College Park, has been a terrific boon for the program. Those 8 students I'm talking about were high school students who got their associate's degree at our ceremony in May before they got their high school diploma. It was very exciting to finish high school with 2 years of college under your belt. Early college is also expanding, with more than 400 people attending an informational event in Globe Hall on Monday night. They were all interested in early college in cyber computer science that begins, again, next fall. There are also upcoming sessions for the early college programs that will be located at the Rockville and Tacoma Park Silver Spring campuses in the fall. We already have one up and running at Rockville right now. That one's got, I think, about 50 students in it, and they're all focused on math. There'll be a program here at the Germantown Campus where they'll be focused on cyber computer, and the program at Tacoma Park, the cyber computers for next fall, and the Tacoma Park program is also next fall, which will be focused, I believe, in health and bio. Right, okay. So enrollments in the winter session, we're more than halfway through the fall, right? And I see some wonderful students sitting up front here. Have you got exams on your mind yet for finals yet? No. Well, okay. All right. They're coming. Anybody taking chemistry, by the way? Oh, okay. Let me talk to you when we're done here. Anyway, a lot of people are beginning to enroll for winter session, and some for spring next year as well. And it's very important for students to be thinking about what their plans are. So I hope you're already planning ahead, scoping out what you want to do and take, and getting in there to do to get registered. So the extended winter session, the one that starts in December, already has about 800 students enrolled in it. That's amazing, compared to 626 last year. And the regular winter session has 976 students enrolled so far. On the humanities front, I know many of you participated in the week-long Humanities Days in October, and I was really struck by how many of the events were designed to build skills that promote social justice. Ever since our Middle States self-study, the work we did on that, we've been emphasizing how much social justice is one of the pillars of our identity. And so I appreciate everything that the folks did with the Humanities Days event. They're a very powerful demonstration for students of how many disciplines, things like philosophy, political science, the arts, and communication, impact our world in very practical ways. On top of that, I want to applaud all of the work that went into encouraging civic engagement in the last month. There was a voting drive and a party to the polls event. A lot of bipartisan education about what advocacy means during an election cycle. It's exciting to help students connect their education to engaged citizenship, and we all know how important that is for our future. And speaking of futures, planning for the future of the college is underway, as many of you probably know. 8 strategic planning sessions have been held and more are on the way. As you know, we have to plan now for what our new students will need in the future. And our current new students continue to need our attention well into the second half of the semester. If you remember, we had an extraordinary push to welcome new students this year, and we've been checking in on them throughout the semester. I'm talking about students who are brand new to college. First time they've ever attended college. Does that apply to any of you up here? Is your very first time to be in college? Okay, well, that's great. I'm so glad you chose Montgomery College to start that pathway. So we need to help support you, make sure that you have everything you need to understand how this whole system works and keep you on your path and help you to be successful, get your degree, get your certificate or transfer, whatever your educational goals happen to be. Finally, a couple of comments about safety and security. Our very last town hall meeting coincided with a security incident at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus, and I promised I would follow up on some changes resulting from that day. So first of all, I might mention, I believe a couple weeks ago, you might have seen a memorandum that came from Donna Shenna, our interim senior vice president for administrative and fiscal services about this. I'm going to be reiterating some of the things that were mentioned there. We're replacing some of our radio equipment with systems that provide more reliability and cover a wider ground. Safety officers will have protective Kevlar vests. We've increased the number of public safety officers who are authorized to send MC alert messages. There was some concern about how quickly details of the Tacoma Park campus emergency were communicated. We learned in that incident that a mandatory building evacuation can impede the sending of timely alerts, so we've increased the number of persons who are authorized to send the alert messages and spread them out strategically in different locations. And finally, there will be more emergency drills. So we're acutely aware of the importance of safety and security, and we ask for your full cooperation in these drills. When you're in K-12 schools, you do drills routinely. I grew up in the Midwest, and we had 2 kinds of drills all the time: fire drills and tornado drills. And we just did them all throughout the school year. And that happens in K-12 schools across the country. They don't all have tornado drills, but they all have different kinds of drills. It's not something we're accustomed to doing in higher education, but it's something that we do need to do. They will never be convenient when they happen, but we're going to have to do them so that we all understand and get used to what to do in case of a real emergency. All right, so we encourage employees and students to attend some public safety forums, by the way, that will be happening later this month. That will be happening across the college, and there should be some communication coming out about that soon, and it'll be a great chance to hear more details about it and build your own awareness on safety issues. So with that, I want to say thank you for listening to my updates, and now open the floor for any questions from you.
All right, we're going to start right here. If you wouldn't mind standing. No. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Cain.
morning.
Amanda from the Germantown Library, and I get to go first and get this out of the way, so thank you. All right. Revisions to the compensation awards and EAP section of the PNP are in front of the Board of Trustees or the President's Executive Cabinet for review. Are the revisions all or nothing, or can they decide that the degree attainment award should be kept as a salary enhancement instead of becoming a $1,500 one-time bonus, or that people should not be disqualified from the award because they used their EAP money to finance the degree? Thank you.
Well, very good question. Thank you. Let me start by saying that what you're referring to is part of a procedure in the PNP manual, okay? And there are 2 parts to every piece of every document in there. There's a policy part and there's a procedure part. Policy is usually an overarching, large, big picture statement about a particular issue. The procedure is the detailed implementation of it. Most policies are half a page long, and they're established by the Board of Trustees. So they lay out kind of a direction on a particular issue. And then the procedure is implemented by the president. So at Montgomery College, we've had many different ways that presidents have implemented procedures. And for the past 7 years, after Dr. Pollard arrived, we started a whole different way to develop procedures. Procedures now are things that begin in the president's cabinet and then go out to the public for review and comment. And then we review those comments and back in the cabinet before we decide what to do, to recommend to the president to implement regarding the procedure. So that's the first background that I want to share. Secondly then, there are a lot of policies and procedures in our manual that need to be updated. Some of them are as old as when they started, and many of the policies and procedures in that particular part of it are actually from the 1980s. So we've been systematically over the last 7 years going through them, reviewing, comparing with other institutions, aligning them, bringing them up to date. So the one you're talking about is one that's in that queue right now. And it speaks to the value that we place on employees enhancing their education. So let me start by saying that is a huge value at Montgomery College. We really, really want to encourage employees to get more education. There are many people at the college who arrive with 1 degree and they'll go back to school to earn a higher degree. Earning that higher degree is a great thing because it probably qualifies you for more options in your career. So the college has been very generous in supporting that process and encouraging employees to do that. So you mentioned EAP. That's a part of where the college, for many people, is either paying all or a very good portion of a degree. A master's degree is usually, can be 20, 30 credits. It's a lot of money. So to be supported by the college is a very generous thing, and it's something that will continue. The only question has come up about what happens at the end of earning a degree. And it is common for employers to have some way to recognize that event. And our system has a recognition within it. But the question is, should it be a one-time here, take this and thank you very much or congratulations? Or does it become something that goes into the base? Changing a person's base salary is a very big deal when you do that. It now can put you out of sync with other employees. Certainly it's something that adds on year after year. It's something we've been doing for a long time. So that's what we're debating right now, which is the best way to do that. And I would tell you in our system of putting something out as an idea and getting feedback, we got a little feedback about that. And we discussed that yesterday. Just coincidentally, we had a cabinet meeting yesterday. And so we reviewed the feedback. One of the things that became clear is that we want to do a better job of kind of communicating why we were thinking about all of these things in that particular procedure. So nothing is is sitting there ready to be signed and implemented. It's part of a discussion right now. And I'd like to have that discussion in the broadest terms to say, how can we show that we value and appreciate employees? I think paying for most or all of a degree is a huge show of appreciation. Helping a person to be qualified for more advancement in their career, that's a huge show of appreciation. And we'll figure out the part at the end. Okay? All right.
All right, we have a question right here in the audience. If you'd stand up.
Hi.
Hi.
Am I allowed to ask a compound question?
A compound question?
Yeah.
Sure. About
Okay.
compounds, like chemistry compounds? Or?
I'm not a science man, so no.
All right.
But my question is so I see that there's a building being built. What is that building? When will it be finished? And are there any other plans to do any remodeling or expansion?
Okay. Are you talking about the building on this campus? Yes. Okay. So great question. That building is being it's being renovated right now. It's a building that was there, had a lot of science classrooms and labs in it, and once the new building, the building we're in right now, the Bioscience Education Center building opened, we have a great opportunity to change the function of that building. So there was a huge lab in there, for instance, on the second floor, other labs, many classrooms. We're going to change the building itself, so it's actually getting a whole new floor. It's going to have a third floor now, and it should be done, I believe, to be open either next summer or next fall. I'm looking next summer? Okay, yeah, so next summer. And in terms of plans for other things, we look at every building every day, and especially buildings that are older, we're imagining what kinds of fixes they might need to make them better, more functional, bring them up to date. So you'll see renovations get planned here and there. And in terms of new buildings, we're thinking about that too. And in fact, we're in the middle of a big construction project at the Rockville campus, which is not a renovation, but a brand new building for student services. And we are about to launch a major construction project at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus with the building to be much like this building, a science and math building. All right? All right, thank you for your question.
I have a question here in the front row.
Hello.
Hi.
The Student Senate here at the Germantown campus did a survey a while back asking students what the main problem here is. Many reported back having problems with the food on campus, whether that be with temporary food trucks or the vending machines, and more especially with the cafeteria. Many people have reported to me especially about having food allergies and the menu not accommodating to them for most of it or all of it. We want to know what Montgomery College's administration can do to help improve the food situation at the Germantown campus.
Okay. Does anybody here like the food on campus? Okay. Okay, some of it. So, you know, you raised a very good question, and I would say that everybody involved in the answer to that question wants to have good food for people who are on campus. Good food, affordable food, food that can be responsive to different allergy situations, food that's responsive to different needs. If a person is a vegetarian or has other special dietary needs, love to be able to do all of those things. And I do want to acknowledge the people who do prepare food on campus. That is hard work, and they do the best they can with everything that they have, and they're trying to please many different kinds of people. So with that said, I do know that there are some efforts to ramp up the quality of food service and do some things in different ways. And I'm looking to see if our interim senior vice president might be able to shed a little bit of light on that for you. So if Donna Shenna would say a few words, there you go.
Sure. So our current food contract is coming up for renewal, and so we're involved in a very extensive redesign, reimagining of food services here at the college. And we are going to engage students. We have in the first stages. It will become more and more so. Ms. Nadine Porter, who is the Associate Senior VP for our area, is leading that effort as we move forward and look at it. We're also looking at partnering with whatever vendor we bring in to help us redesign the facilities, particularly here at Germantown and Rockville, because part of the dining experience is what the environment is like. So you're going to be hearing more and more. Nadine is going out and talking to the student councils. If you want her to come to your council, if she hasn't been there, please do so. But she has a very robust plan. We had a roundtable with vendors who may be interested in coming to Montgomery College, talking to them about what their thoughts are. We brought them to all of our campuses to let them see the facilities and talk about what it should look like going forward. So we're definitely engaged in this. We hear you.
All right. Does that answer your question? All right, good.
So piggybacking off of that, would that mean that we're changing the company, the private company that serves food here, or how would that work? Is it like remodeling and yeah, I'm just kind of wondering what that would look like.
Donna, you may be the best person to answer that.
So Montgomery College is a public institution, and we receive public funds from the county and from the state. So we must abide by very prescribed procurement policies and procedures. This is a very large effort, a costly effort, so we will be going through a request for proposals process to identify who the next vendor will be. And as I said, we are looking at someone who will partner with us to try to upgrade the facilities going forward. So it will be part of the RFP process. We don't just go out and say, we like you, come on board. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Cain.
Good morning.
I'm Peggy LaRocca, the Vice President of AFSCME Local 2380 Staff Union. And my question concerns cost of living. A large number of us were all of a sudden put over our top of our maximum salary ranges by the implementation of Comp 101. And in the past, while employees over their max would not be eligible for merit increase, they did receive cost of living increase. This administration has determined that employees over the top of the range will receive nothing. The federal government, the state of Maryland, and all other public employers in Montgomery County understand the concept of cost of living, but incredibly, this Montgomery College administration does not even recognize that there is such a thing. They promised that under Comp 101, no one's salary would be decreased. But by not giving cost of living raises, this is exactly what has happened. The cost of goods and services increases each year. In fact, this year's Social Security recipients will receive a 2.8% cost of living. But if your salary is flat, you have effectively lost purchasing power, to say nothing of the effect this has on your retirement funds and Social Security. My question to you is this: do you agree with Montgomery College's new policy of denying COLA raises to employees who are at or over their maximum salary range?
All right, well, thank you for that question. As you know, the development of what you referred to as the Comp 101 system was something that took a long time, had a great deal of discussion about it, a lot of research, a lot of consideration that went into that. The goal in that was to create a system that was good for employees and good for the college in a sustainable format as we go into the future. The system that we had before was not either of those. So as a result of that, there are a percentage of employees with the market-based compensation system, a system of employees, or a series of employees that are above the maximum that the market pays for that line of work. And what you describe is true for those employees. For the majority of the employees, it's not true. Those employees are not at the maximum of the market, and so they are eligible for all of the things that you mentioned. So what I have to say is that this is an adjustment period, and certainly in the first year that it's in place, We're all getting used to it right now. And I would say that one of the things that I'm very hopeful for that comes out of this is more and more thought about our career ladders and places that we can go, and not saying that where I am now is where I need to be my entire career. There's other opportunities for me, and that the college is supportive of that, and that we create pathways and support you through those pathways to move to a higher paying job. Okay? All right.
We have a question right here.
Hello.
Hi.
So recently there's been some talk about arming security on campus, and a lot of students expressed their concern about that. I wanted to ask if there were any developments or decisions that were made regarding that.
Arming security on
Security
campus,
guards.
you said? Okay, great. So the quick answer to that is no. There's no discussion of that, and no decision has been made to arm security on campus. But the bigger picture in all that is really a question about security and safety on campuses. And I would, as I mentioned earlier in my comments, there's a lot to consider in all of that, right? We live in a world that's very different today than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And many college campuses around the country are examining this and deciding that a path for them is to have armed police on campus at all times. And I tell you that I hear both sides of the argument, or two different perspectives whenever that is suggested. One perspective is a discomfort with having people with weapons on campus. The other perspective is a comfort of having people with weapons on campus. People who can protect me if something bad happens. And so balancing both of those points of view is something that's very important and requires an entire community to discuss and decide what it's comfortable with. I'll tell you, there are several community colleges in the state that do have armed police forces. And I talked to the president of one of them and asked what made them make that decision. And the answer was that their campus was isolated, or is isolated, and they can't necessarily depend on the local police force to arrive there quickly. So that was the driving factor in their decision. Well, we don't have that. We have a very good relationship with our local police forces. So we're in Montgomery County. We have the Montgomery County Police. They're a wonderful police force, and they arrive at Montgomery College very quickly if we call. Our Rockville campus is in the city of Rockville. There's a city of Rockville Police. They're another very good force. City of Tacoma Park is where Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus is, and the same thing with them. So we have wonderful relationships with all of these police forces that exist in Montgomery County, and so that lessens some of the stress on us to need to have people present right now with weapons on campus. Are we thinking about other things, though, for our public safety office? Yes, we are. So a police officer is commissioned and can carry a weapon and can make arrests, right? Our public safety officers don't carry weapons and they don't arrest. There is something in between called a special officer, and we're looking very carefully at that as a possibility, which would be a person who is trained like a commissioned officer and could do certain things that our public safety officers, as they stand right now, cannot do. And by the way, to the last point, one of the things we want to do is create a path for our public safety officers to become special officers so that they can advance in their work. But on this point of safety, you know, it will take all of us working together to decide what's best for us in terms of keeping us safe and what we are comfortable with as a community. So thank you for your question.
All right, we have a question here in the front row.
Hi, I was just wondering, usually with, since we have 3 different locations, sometimes we have to get classes that aren't at one, and I know myself, I'm not able to drive just yet, and sometimes I had classes in Rockville and here, and I knew if I missed the shuttle bus, I had to wait a whole hour, and sometimes that would be missing my, basically all of my class. Wondering if there's anything to have more shuttle buses or to shorten the time period between each stop, because an hour wait sometimes doesn't give you that much breathing room when scheduling and everything.
Right. Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for using the shuttle. I know a lot of students do. I hear it's very popular. I've been on it myself, and I enjoy the ride. The challenge of taking things like that means that you're always on a clock. When I was a dean at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus more than a decade ago now, I often took public transportation to work from my home in Gaithersburg. And if I missed one point, so you'd be running and rushing to get to the stop on time, and sometimes I made it and sometimes I didn't. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I believe this year we have added to our shuttles, we've added larger ones. Have we added more frequent runs, or are we pretty much on the same schedule that we've been before? I'm looking over in this direction because our shuttle experts happen to be with us right here in the room. So could I ask either Donna or Marvin to comment on that? So this would be Marvin Mills, who's the Vice President of Facilities and Public Safety.
Thank you. Great question. What we've done is we've increased the size of our buses to make sure we can get more students to where we need to go. We have not changed our schedule, but we will look at that for you, okay? All right. Thank you.
I feel your pain. This is Dr. Rai, who is the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs.
So we are looking at scheduling classes in a very different way. We are looking at the data, just the kind of things you just mentioned, that you have a class here, then you're going to take another class at Rockville campus. We're trying to make sure that we offer all the classes as much as possible that you need at a campus so that you don't have to travel as much between the campuses. Sometimes there is specialized programs like cybersecurity is offered here, so you have to come to this campus for those classes. But there are lots of classes that are offered on both the campuses or all 3 campuses. You don't need to travel between those campuses just for those classes. So I'm very hopeful that within a span of maybe 18 months or so, we'll offer much better schedule. And we'll offer 3 years of schedule in advance. So you will know what classes will be offered maybe 2 years from now, so you can plan better as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anybody else in the room? I do have several online questions. Let's go with...
we have one over here.
I'm sorry. Stand up, please.
Well, regarding the classes that require transportation, I've noticed that a few classes are available in really far areas. For example, if you want to actually take not necessarily biology, but like a specific course, you have to actually travel all the way to Tacoma Park. Is there any way that you can increase the amount of area space, or how do we say, add a few buildings so that those courses can be added in those campuses?
So thank you for your question. I didn't catch your name.
My name is Mohammed.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for your question. So I would tell you that from my point of view, in my perfect world, I would offer everything on every campus. I would love to be able to do that, but it's just not practical. So there are certain things that are at each campus that's kind of a specialty for that campus. And so everybody who wants to take it needs to go there. One example is nursing. All nursing classes are only at Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus. And the reason for that is that it's a very expensive program to run, first of all, and another is that we're able to put all of the health sciences disciplines together. So some of what Dr. Rai just said bears on this question that you bring up as well. You do have the set of courses that are specialized and can only be offered in one place, but then there are other things that can be offered everywhere. And so as much as can be offered everywhere is exactly what we want to do. And I think the last thing that he mentioned is the one that will help the most, and that is knowing in advance. So if you knew now, you do know now what the spring semester is, so you can figure out what you want to do in the spring. But imagine that you're standing here today and you can look not only at next spring, but you could also see next fall and the spring after that, right? Then you could strategically decide that for my fall semester next year, I'm going to take all my classes at this campus where that one specialized course happens to be where I know I must be. Does that make sense? So we're working very, very hard because we hear stories like yours, and I wish we were able to make life easier for you in trying to work those things out. So thank you for your question.
All right, we are going to go to an online question now.
All right.
It's about free community college. How does the new free community college process work? Is everyone eligible? Will it pay for expenses beyond tuition? Do non-credit courses qualify? And deadlines. And I'll remind you, there's a 5-part question there, so.
That is the definition of a compound question. All right, so you set the tone here for us, so all these compound questions now. So, first of all, I try to avoid that word that starts with F. I try to avoid the F word, free. There is no such thing as free. It's not mentioned anywhere in the actual law. The actual law is the Maryland Promise Act. And it is a great law, and it's a wonderful opportunity for our students. And it was passed by the General Assembly in Maryland last spring, signed by the governor. And over the summer, the Maryland Higher Education Commission has been working to develop the regulations and the rules by which it will be implemented. And that news just was finished at the end of October. So we're literally just a couple weeks into knowing some of the answers to these questions. And so some of the questions there about, so let's start with eligibility. Is everybody eligible? No. You need to be a recent high school graduate, and you need to have a certain GPA. Then you need to be coming to Montgomery College going full-time. And then once you're going full-time, you need to maintain a certain GPA, and which is what I think that's doable for, right? The students up front here agree with me, and so all those things are reasonable, but you just can't let yourself slip on any of them. You can't stop being full-time, and you can't let your GPA slip, I think it's below 2.5. Then you have to apply to the Higher Ed Commission with your FAFSA. Okay, so they need to receive your FAFSA. And if you are not eligible to submit a FAFSA, which would be students who are Dreamers, they have a form for that. So Dreamers are eligible for the Maryland Promise Act as well. It is then considered last dollar, the term they use, last dollar benefit, which means all of the other aid grants that you receive get put toward your tuition first, and then this one fills in the gap. And so that might be $1,000, or it can be up to $5,000 per year, okay? All that is great. It's a wonderful program. What you need to know is that there's 16 community colleges in Maryland. There's $15 million in the fund this year. So think about spreading, how it's going to be spread out. It's not spread out by college. It's spread out by student. It's on a first-come, first-served basis to the Higher Ed Commission. But to put it in perspective, at Montgomery College, our tuition revenue alone, we're just one college, is $75 million. So that $15 million could never completely cover everything that everybody needs to pay at Montgomery College. So that's why I joke about the free word, because it's not going to make anything free. And so when does it start? It starts next fall. So you can't utilize it this year, but they're going to open the applications for it sometime in the spring. And one last thing that's important to know is that if you are the recipient of one of these scholarships, you must work in Maryland for 1 year for every year that you receive the scholarship, okay? And if you don't, if you happen to get a job out of state and you want to go ahead and get that job, that's fine. But then that grant turns into a loan that has to be repaid. Okay? Did I cover all the points?
I think you did.
Okay.
Deadlines. Did you touch on deadlines?
Oh, deadlines are I've seen them. I can't remember what they are, but I believe they're going to be March, April, that type of thing. Yeah. March 1st, okay.
All right. Another online question. Great. Awesome.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Riley Farenthold. I'm a student at the college. I'm also a student assistant at Student Life. I had a question to piggyback on the affordable college. You said that students who are eligible would need to go full-time. There are lots of students at Montgomery College with various disabilities or circumstances that would not permit them to attend college full-time. Is there going to be any accommodations that will that can let students who would be otherwise served by the DSS office be able to go to college for a very reasonable amount? Because if not, it's just the students whose families can afford to send them to college part-time, because if they're not able to work and they're not able to receive financial aid because they're not taking a full-time load, that's just going to widen the gap.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're referring to the Promise Act and how it applies to part-time students. That's something a lot of people have talked about and hope that maybe the legislature will revisit the law in the coming year to address some of the different perspectives that have maybe weren't considered the first time around. So at Montgomery College, the majority of our students are part-time. Majority of students are part-time. So it immediately, if nothing were to change about the student's decision, then the Promise Act would not be something that would be available to them. So there are two ways to think about that. One is I remain part-time, and so I'm not eligible for this. The other might be, and this would be the ideal situation, is maybe that scholarship makes up the money that I was going to try to earn at a job, so now I don't need that job, and I can go and take more classes than I was originally planning to. That would be perfect if it worked that way. I know that can be a tricky thing to work out, and I worked my way through college too, so I know exactly what it feels like. But that would be the silver lining in the cloud if that could make the difference so a person didn't have to work. But your point's well taken. Thank you.
Another question in the front row.
Hey. Yeah. So coming off, usually I come here more to the Germantown campus, and what I found, and I've been to the Rockville campus, what I found I find more enjoyable here is that there's like a space in the middle where people like play volleyball and stuff. and there's more open space for people to hang out. And when I noticed in Rockville, it's more buildings and compact, and there's not really anywhere for students to really socialize much or to like hang out and like throw a ball or something. And I just wanted to know what do you think is like, there any way to like change that to put more like
Good question, thank you.
Open area?
So let me start by saying that I love all of our campuses, okay? And I have taught on all 3 campuses, and I have been a dean on all 3 campuses as well, and WDCE. So I know that each one has its own history and its own way that it developed. Germantown is actually the biggest campus, okay? It's got more land to it than Rockville or Tacoma Park Silver Spring. That gives a little bit more flexibility here. But I also love the kind of open space that you're talking about too. So I want to, well, let me start with the fact. Once the new building I mentioned earlier is completed at the Rockville campus, another building is coming down. Okay, we're going to destroy it and take it away. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're not putting anything else up on it, are we? Are we going to make that open area or not? Open space. That's what I thought. So we're going to have some open space at the Rockville campus as well, really kind of in the middle of the campus. So it's something I think a lot of people appreciate, and so it'll be there in the future of the Rockville campus as well. All right, thanks.
I have a question back here.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Dr. Cain. My
Hello.
name is Dean Schleicher. I'm a part-time faculty member here at the college. Registration for the spring semester is open now. However, many students will wait until January to register when counseling centers are swamped, the highly sought-after professors, their classes are full, sometimes classes students need are full. What can we do to encourage students to register early for their next semester?
I would go through and encourage you to register early, register early, register early. So there are 4,033 brand new students at the college this fall. 4,033 new to college for the very first time attending Montgomery College. It is so helpful to reach out to them and have that conversation with them and do everything to encourage them. This will be a new experience for students. It'll be the first time that they're registering for a spring semester after they've gotten into college. I think once they've done that, they've probably covered all the new experiences you could have. So I would encourage faculty, staff, everybody just to have that conversation. Ask a student, what are your plans? Okay? What are your plans? And just engage in a brief conversation, kind of get them thinking about it, and if need be, tell them how helpful it is to them to register now. Take care of these things now. Go get the class. You have all the choices in the world to start with. You can really develop the schedule that you want, and get your arrangements put together. It takes the stress off of January for the student, and it's certainly helpful to faculty, department chairs, and deans as they're trying to be sure that we're offering everything that students need. Okay. That wasn't a setup, by the way. I had nothing to do with that question, but it's a great question. So, register.
All right, I'm going to go with another online question. And this is about the recent election. How will the change in county executive and county council members affect the college?
Wow, so I was very interested in the election and had a great time watching the returns on Tuesday night, both national, state, and local. If I haven't mentioned it before, I've never missed voting in any election since I turned 18 a few years ago. Every primary, every general election, and so I love it. I'm a little bit of a junkie. And so locally, we've had a sea change in our government. We knew that was coming even before Tuesday night. We have a new county executive. We've had one for the last 12 years, and one for 12 years before that. So over the past 2 decades, we've had just 2 people be county executive in Montgomery County. We also had term limits kick in, and so there are 4 new members of the county council out of 9 of them who serve the county. So every single one of them who was elected is a wonderful public servant, and every one of them is a supporter of Montgomery College. So I would definitely want to extend our congratulations, if you're watching out there, to our new county executive, Mark Elrich, the new members of the county council, the 4 new members who are Andrew Friedson, Will Jawando, Evan Glass, and Gabe Albernaz. We have had an opportunity to interact with all of the candidates during the election season. I can tell you that just in personal conversations or listening to them in their presentations, every one of them knows about Montgomery College. Every one of them cares a lot about Montgomery College. So I know that even with this great sea change of a transition, we'll have great support at our county level, and looking forward to working with the new government.
All right, unfortunately, we're just about out of time, but would you care to share any closing remarks with the audience?
Sure. Well, thank you all very much for coming today and sharing your questions, your thoughts, your concerns. I enjoy hearing these things, and you help keep me informed and grounded in the work of the college. And I also want to mention that Dr. Pollard, who is on sabbatical, as you know, will be back on November 27th, that's a Tuesday, for a presidential dialogue series, which is going to be held at the Rockville campus with Neera Tandon, who is the CEO of the Center for American Progress. So that's a great event for everybody here. It's a great event for students, especially this time, the Civic Engagement. The Center for American Progress does some amazing things, and they're a great organization to follow. So encourage you to come to that. For students, I want to wish you well in the rest of your semester. Good luck on final exams, and don't forget to register early for the spring semester, and we'll see you all next time.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pollard, and thank you to all of you for participating in today's town hall. I do want to encourage everyone to keep an eye on Inside MC Online for all the details on our next, did I say Dr. Pollard? It was inevitable. All right, let's take that from the top. I want to thank Dr. Cain, and I want to thank everybody for participating in today's town hall. And I do want to encourage you to keep an eye on Inside MC Online for details on our next town hall. It's coming up in February on the Rockville campus. And to stay on top of everything that's happening at MC, make sure to follow Montgomery College and Montgomery College Television on social media.